commercial,
Yes.
and then we just pretend to like talk about something stupid, and it comes back to us.
Like Space Force? Can we talk about Space Force?
Oh man,
So no, can't talk.
sure,
I'm
we can
sorry.
talk about Space Force.
Look,
Yeah,
they've
just
got the
once
symbol
we
from Star
recognize that
Trek.
Space Force is still better than the Coast Guard.
Facts. Very nice.
That's terrible. Ouch.
Bye.
That is hilarious.
Yogi, what do you
Jim
think about
Armstrong, welcome to the show, my brother.
that?
Thanks, brothers. Glad to be here. Thanks for
Yogi
having me.
Bear,
What's up? What's up?
what did you think about that little Catalina wine mixer at the golf course?
That was beautiful. I had a great time.
I
Great
felt out of
time.
place.
You
So
felt that?
live streaming right now,
Woo woo!
just to let you know. So welcome, you guys. Give it
I
just
thought
a
you wanted us to talk
minute.
about anything.
No, not everything.
Not everything.
Not
Okay.
everything. Not everything. Welcome, you guys. We'll give it a few minutes for other people to join, but it's great to have. I see some new faces. Just a moment. Feel free to unmute. Hey, Lane, how are you doing? We were just talking about you.
Hey, Elaine!
How are you guys? Hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
Fantastic.
Hello.
Welcome.
Did you want us to introduce ourselves, Christine, if we're new, or just
And
Yeah.
just if, well, you know what? Feel free to,
yeah.
but let's start. Let's just start. All right, guys. The Veteran Series is here to connect veterans and veterans to valued resources. And sorry, turn that off. And streamline the medical process, the claims processes, bring education, and just connect with each other. So welcome. I'm going to give it over to Yogi to go ahead and start with the introductions.
Do we have any announcements in the room just yet?
Not yet. We'll do that
Perfect. All right, before we get started.
at the end. So right now it's a 30-second introductions.
Perfect. Before we get our speaker, we're going to do introductions so that we know who is on. Keep introductions to 30 seconds within your name, your branch, your organization, and nothing more until we open the forum, please. You will be muted at 30 seconds to be respectful to everybody else. And during the open forum is when you can ask, share, and make announcements and talk more about your story, your organization. So who wants to go first?
How about the new people?
Yeah, the new people.
Let's meet the new people. Jeff?
Jeff Swan, you're muted, brother. Great speech, but you're still muted.
Jeff Papa.
Jeff, you got some really good mic discipline going on right now.
Jeff Papa.
There we go. Hey, I'm trying. Is that better?
Much better.
That's better.
Okay. Okay, sounds so. Jeff Swan. What do you guys want? I do the Rock 22 in Monroe, Washington here, the veterans group, and I was, I was active 93, 96. Then 2004, I went back into the reserves, and then I got out in about 2015. I met Chris about a year and a half ago, and that's how I got hooked up with the Milta Vet.
Beautiful. Craig.
All right. Great to see you.
How you guys doing? I'm Craig Hannum, retired U.S. Army, and currently I'm the suicide prevention person for National Grassroots Broadcasting Network, NGBN TV.
Jim Armstrong. Can you introduce yourself, brother?
How's it going, everybody? I'm Jim Armstrong, retired Army. I am the executive director of Pacific Northwest Veteran Assistance Program, and I do a thing called Operation Paint to Heal. But I'm also retired disabled veteran case manager from the state.
Beautiful. Hank the Tank.
I know this is probably going to be like a delay, but I'm Hank. 4 years, United States Marine Corps.
Rock.
Actor, writer, comedian. Operation Transition Outside the Wire, Coffee, and I'm the best.
Wait, I didn't mute you. I heard the best and then it muted. What the heck?
Penny,
Next.
Penny Lambright.
I'm founder and CEO
Oh.
of Patriots and Paws, and we are glad to have all of you guys here, and we are here to serve.
Whoop, whoop. Gigi Larson.
Good evening, everybody. As you can see, I represent the Chamber, Filipino American Chamber. I'm the president. I received this email, thank you, because we do have veteran members, and I wanted to know a little bit more about what options they have and what programs you have available for them.
Beautiful.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And do I have people that are hiding themselves that I cannot see?
Nope. So Lelaine, did Lelaine say hi?
No, I didn't.
Elaine? Oh,
Hi, everyone. My name is Lelaine Lau. I'm from the Bodyguard Corporation. Part of our mission is to include military and vets as much as we can in our business. So love to chat and hear what you have to offer the veteran. Thank you for having us.
love Elaine, by the way.
Hi.
Non-biased. Anyone else I forgot to call?
So Yogi, Daniel, Chris.
Beautiful. Christopher.
First off, hey, Pacific Northwest is here. Awesome. Love to see everybody that showed up on here. I'm Chris, retired old senior chief, MILDA vet. Check it out. And I want you guys to all like and subscribe. Go on the YouTube channel right now. Everybody that's on this call should be hitting that like button and also subscribing. Thank you so much. On to you, Yogi.
Daniel.
Hi, I'm Daniel.
Before you go on, do you mind, whatever people said, subscribe or do this, can you put the link in the chat? So 'cause some of us
Absolutely.
can't type well. Thank you.
Christopher will be taking care of that part for his subscription right now. And Daniel, what do you represent? Who are you? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I'm just a guy. I'm a armed services veteran, and I work for an entity of the federal government, which shall remain unnamed at this time because we are recording. And I'm here to help any veteran that's in need.
Beautiful. I am Yogi, Jonathan Hernandez. I've been in the Navy for the last 22 years. I'm still active duty. I'm here with MilToVet, here with Christine and Chris, and helping out. Christine, over back to you.
All right. I'm Christine with the Veteran Series Forum, part of MilToVet, and we are here just to do this, bring veterans and resources together to connect. And here we are. It's great to have everyone on. We're also live streaming, and so you could share this if any information applies or you'd like to pass on what you hear tonight. Yogi, would you like to introduce our speaker?
Absolutely. So our speaker tonight is Craig Hannum. He is the director of the Equip Ourselves to Save Lives campaign. He is a talker. He
has a talker, that's for sure.
He's a really good talker. He's going to be speaking about a very sensitive subject. All right, to all our viewers, disclaimer, this is going to be a very difficult topic and conversation, but that's what we're here to talk about, right? We always talk about the 22 a day, 42, depending on what statistic you're going for, but that's what we're here to prevent, and not just within the military services, but all the way across, right? And with that, so the topic is going to be suicide prevention, learning the essential skills to recognize when someone might be in distress and how you could help save a life. Again, this session will discuss sensitive topics. Viewer discretion is advised. Chris, over to you.
Craig. And Craig will be doing
Craig.
this for about 30 minutes. We're going to have open forum. We'll be able to ask questions. He's got some things to show us, and he's got some questions to ask us too. Take it away. It's all you.
All right. Before we get started, I got a friend that I follow on LinkedIn. Her name's Michelle Anderson. So Michelle, I hear you. I see you from Sandy, Utah. She put up this quote that I thought was pretty profound. It got me. and it's from Clarice Pencola Estes. And it says, if you have a deep scar, that's a door. If you have an old story, that's a door. If you love the sky and the water so much you almost cannot bear it, that is a door. If you yearn for a deeper life, a full life, a sane life, that is a door. So thought I'd open with that because the stuff we're going to be talking about, a lot of people close those doors where they will not talk about it. And that is a problem. So I'm going to pull up some slides here real quick. I promise not to kill you guys, death by PowerPoint. And as I'm going through these, if you guys got questions, feel free to interrupt me. I'm totally cool with that. You're not gonna throw me off my rhythm or anything like that. Okay. Let me just minimize that. All right. So Ask Care Escort is actually a Department of Defense model. It's very simple. ACE. Now we're going to be adding to this as far as NGBN is concerned. We're going to be adding more acronyms, if you will, more ways to have the conversation. And that's what we're trying to teach people is how to have a conversation about this very taboo subject. And let's be honest with each other. No one wants to have this conversation. It's scary. I get it. But imagine if you're there and you're picking up on some warning signs. And most likely it's going to be somebody you work with, somebody you know very well, a friend, a family member. That's a hard conversation, you know, when it's a child or a spouse, cousin, whatever it might be. But if you're picking up on something, ask them directly. Hey, man, are you thinking about suicide? And don't just throw that out there. Say, hey, here's why I'm asking. For example, analogy I like to use is like in the grocery store. So say you're in the produce section and you've gotten all your produce. And in that 5 to 6 to 7 minute time, you see a dude standing there in front of broccoli. He's been staring at the same broccoli the entire time and has not moved. Well, I don't think he's talking to the broccoli. The dude is stuck. So what if you picked up on that and you walk up and say, hey, excuse me, everything okay? You look like you kind of beside yourself. You look like you're a little alone, sad. Is everything okay? Most people, a lot of people think, no, they're going to tell me off. They're going to say, no, pack sand, get out of here, leave me alone, mind your own business. However, there is a population out there that will look at you and say, well, what do you mean? Tell them why. We look sad. Now, it's easier to do when it's a family member and coworker because we know their behavior. We know their mannerisms. We know how they talk, what they say, what they don't say. We know almost everything about them, especially our military personnel. You know who is in your teams. And then when you ask them, hey, it looks like are you thinking about suicide? Man, their eyes will open up. I kid you not. And they're going to say, I have. How did you pick up on that? Well, I just see you. You want to talk about it? Sit down. Let's talk about it. And there's things you want to figure out in these questions. Don't do it like a checklist. The military still does this. The Army was notorious for it, to have a checklist. The call centers, and make no mistake, the 988 and all those other call centers, they're great. But there's still a checklist they're trying to get through. Because you're talking to somebody over the phone, you've got a lot of information you want to get out. So I get that. This is face-to-face. Eventually in that conversation, when they say, yeah, and I'm thinking about suicide. Okay, well, how long have you been thinking about this? Well, you know, a month, 2 months, 24 hours, whatever's going on. So what happened? What happened? What's contributing factor in your life, you know, occurred or happened to you, or what you saw, trauma, whatever it might be. You know, talk to me. You know, figure out if there's a plan there. And that plan is simple. If they have a plan, it is something that they have the means to carry out. So I always tell people, and Yogi heard me say this on Saturday, and to anyone else who reached out on April 6th to watch this, I appreciate you. Thank you. But don't make this about you. If your ego has low self-esteem, do not try to talk somebody down from suicide, because what you're going to do is you're going to compare feelings. And that's what this is about. It's a negative response to a life issue. Sadly, in most cases, the individual at risk created it. And instead of dealing with it, they let it fester, they let it build, and it's overwhelming. And now it's hitting fruition, and they can't deal with it. They can't deal with it alone. So don't make it about you. And if they say, yes, I have a plan, figure out, do they have access to that plan? For example, if they say they're going to shoot themselves, like, okay, do you have a gun? If they say yes, where's the gun? Oh, it's in my safe in my bedroom. Okay, well, we're talking in the living room. Probably not going to let them go to the bedroom. And that's where you go in that care part. Remind them several times in the conversation that, hey, I care about you. I understand what you're feeling. I understand what you're saying. Every time we say I in that response, we're not making it about us. What it does is to the listener, it validates that this person is here for me and me alone. Anytime I've had to intervene, I always take my phone out and say, hey, I'm just going to send a text home real quick to let them know that I'm going to be late because I'm here for you. I'm going to put this thing away. Is that okay? And we kind of have to do that now because we're with our phones 24/7. And if me, as the person at risk, has this individual in front of me who's willing to stop everything else in their life to help them out, that's huge. You know, put the phone away. It's gone. It's over there. So you got to figure out the whys on this part. What happened? I got injured. Okay. Oh, I was forced to retire. I got a divorce. I have financial issues. I've got some legal battles going on. And those three things I just talked about right there, relationships, financial, and or legal issues, are still the top three reasons why people are thinking about suicide today. Those three things have not changed in decades. And remind them that there is hope and be empathetic. And here's my point about empathy and sympathy. Sympathy is, oh, you poor baby, woe is you. That sucks. Empathy is, I understand how that could suck. I can see how that makes you feel hopeless. I can totally understand why you're feeling so sad and alone. It validates. Empathy validates what they're going through. I've always told people, don't say, well, why would you think that? Because what do? We just took our personal belief system and said, suicide's a stupid thing. Why would you think that? No, it's about feeling. Remember, it's a negative response to a life issue. It is a feeling. It's an emotion. And I always remind people that when you're having this conversation, your paramount is extremely safety. Or I'm sorry, your safety. Wow. Sorry, I've been hitting the head a lot, folks. Like seriously, like 14 TBI, so I might mess this up. But that's my disclaimer. Anyways, your safety is really important. Not everybody is willing to go into a negotiation with somebody who's armed and you're unarmed. Well, there's no law enforcement. I get that. That's fine. You decide how deep in this conversation you want to go. But always keep them away from the means. Some person asked me a while back, hey, if they were going to walk down the hall to their bedroom to go get the gun, what would you do? I would tackle them. You're like, well, that's assault, is it? I just stopped this dude from wanting to kill himself. They're grabbing a gun. Who's to say what they're going to do with that gun? You know? So people say, well, you're kind of crazy. Yes, I was in the Army for 20 plus years. You know, sane was not our mantra. And then you want to let other people know about this. And when I say informed leadership, if it's active military, get the chain of command involved. If it's at work, let somebody at work know. Don't read into it. This isn't something that we blast out on Facebook and say, hey, John's thinking about suicide. We got 10 to 1 odds. Who's in? This isn't gossip central. But you got to let somebody else know. This can't be a classified conversation. I just had 2 interventions in less than 8 days, both with teenagers. The parents and the family members were there. And you can't keep that conversation quiet, especially when it comes to a child. Or if it's a spouse, hey, I'm going to tell your wife about this conversation. She needs to know. And so on and so forth. When you get them to a higher level of care, again, don't read into it because I've seen this happen. Had 2 Army civilians go pick up their coworker at her house. She had gone through divorce. She's very sad. She tried to put in some vacation time. They denied it. So she basically stayed home and she was drinking a lot. So they knew that. So they showed up at her house. As soon as she opens the door, they grab a hold of her, put her in the back seat of their car, rush her over to the ER and say, hey, she's suicidal. Like, well, how'd you get here? Those 2 people stuffed me in the back of their car. Yeah, that's when they called me and said, hey, man, we got a kidnapping issue here. That's what I mean. Escort them without kidnapping. And if they need to be taken by a first responders, an ambulance, call 911. But you got to make sure you tell those first responders everything that happened in that conversation. Everything you talked about that led up to their suicidal behavior, everything that's going on in their life, medications, if you know. If you have any history of their medical stuff, bring that out. But some people say, well, Craig, that violates HIPAA. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. I'm talking about suicide prevention. We're not talking about, well, he takes Zoloft because he's psychotic. No. That's totally different. And it's a conversation you as a witness are having with a first responder. Now, if you go home and you get on Facebook, LinkedIn, all that jazz and say, hey, I just did an intervention. It was really exciting. By the way, John's on Zoloft. He takes it like 6 times a day. I think he abuses it. No, I think he's weird. Oh, by the way, he doesn't like the Red Sox. He's a Yankees fan, so he definitely has freaking problems. That's where we're wrong. Okay, that's wrong. But you are a witness providing details to a first responder. Let them know everything because you have no idea the slightest bit of information that could actually help out a provider when it comes to long-term care. So these areas I call exploring invitations or categories that we got to pay attention to. And I broke it down to 4 simple areas: actions, physical, words, and feelings. And here's what we mean. What are they doing specifically that gives you the indication that there's potential suicidal behavior? The top one, not giving away possessions, I saw that a lot in the military. Had an incident where a dude was giving away his Xbox and all of his games and the big TV he had. I was actually setting up a class to teach a military unit, and 2 soldiers were talking about it. Like, hey, what happened? Oh man, he gave me his Xbox, his games. I'm sitting there, I'm looking. I was like, what happened? And it pissed me off because these guys just had my training. And I was like, where is he? They're looking around like, oh, we don't know. I was like, well, don't you think that's a problem? So I go to the chain of command. I see the first sergeant and the commander. I say, hey, we're missing a troop. We rush over to his barracks room because I told him what I heard. He was actually tying a noose around his neck. The end of it was attached to a sandbag that he was going to launch out the 3rd-story window of the barracks. So of course I went back. Now he's fine, by the way. He really is. He moved on, stayed in the army, probably getting close to retirement. But we go back to those 2 troops, and I was like, hey, you idiots, what were you thinking? Well, I just thought he was a good friend. I was like, are you kidding me? He gave up $10,000 worth of gaming stuff, the TV, because he told you he's not going to need it anymore by the end of the day. Where were we on that? So pay attention to actions. And these are going to be obvious warning signs because you know your folks. If you know they're a sports nut and all of a sudden they could care less about what's going on in sports, yeah, that could be an indicator. Now, is it possible that in this conversation they're not suicidal at all? They're just sad? Yes. There's no better time in life to be wrong than when you ask somebody if you're suicidal and they say no. Like, okay, excellent. But why would you think I was suicidal? Again, articulate why you think that. Because of the way you've been acting. You've been doing things outside your character. That part on self-mutilation that you see there, we typically see that with young ladies, teenage girls. And it's usually on the inside of the thighs. And I asked a brilliant psychologist, why are they doing that? He said, it's simple. They control that pain. To them, no one else is causing this pain but them. And that gives them some sense of control. You got to ask yourself, is that really control? Because sometimes you can go too deep. Then, of course, obvious extreme behavior changes. Someone who's always happy, always in a good mood. And then the next thing you know, they're always pissed, like all the time. Things they say. Now, for those of us who love the Star Wars world, which is most of us, they talk about only a Sith talks in absolutes. Well, absolute words and phrases are are a huge indicator because it gets them in a line of thinking where there's no way out. Nothing's going to get better. It doesn't matter what I do. People around me don't care. All these things, those are major invitations when it comes to language. Pay attention to those things. Like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean by that? Well, just now, you said, I can't do this crap anymore. What do you mean? Oh, like this work. It's driving me crazy. I want to find something else. Oh, okay, cool. Can I help you? Let's see if we can find you a new field, maybe a different position inside the unit, the company, whatever it might be. But if you ask them, hey, what did you mean by that? And they said, well, life sucks. I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm thinking about suicide. Okay, let's talk about that. And then how they appear. If they're normally squared away, they dress nice. They're clean. They take pride in their appearance. And then all of a sudden they're disheveled. That's an obvious change of behavior. Look into that. That second bullet right there under physical, that's an intimate deal. What if there's an illness? But ask the question, hey, you haven't touched me in 6 months. What's going on? I can't get out of this depression. I'm struggling to find the way, to get through life. Or it could be, hey, I think something's wrong down there. Okay, cool. Let's go talk to the doctor. See where it's not so bad to be wrong. A lot of people say, hey, who actually sleeps well at night? And that's a good question. I struggle with sleep. It's okay. Talk about it. I have open conversations with my provider. I have very good open conversations with my wife. So she understands that, hey, I had a hard time sleeping last night because of this. But if it's somebody who gets good sleep, and they complain for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it might be. I haven't slept in forever. What's going on? What's worrying you? What's on your mind? Because we know that the science is very clear when it comes to when suicidal behavior kicks in. It's between 10 and 6 o'clock, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. When they're alone, it's quiet, it's dark, it's usually cooler, and their thoughts are just invading their mind. And of course, the feelings part is easy. Anytime someone gives into hopelessness, helplessness, they're lonely, they don't feel like they are worth anybody's time. Those are invitations. So let's take a look at those. So before we move on to this really high speed, what should we call it? Iceberg. Does anybody have any questions for me so far?
I have a
No?
question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you ask the question if they're, if they're contemplating suicide, does everyone answer you honestly? Because I would think they would avoid, or they would cover it up, or they would act like they weren't thinking about it.
Okay, so I'll tell you, in my experience, yes, but sometimes it's nonverbal communication that we got to pick up on. So you got to really pay attention to those micro expressions in a person's face. Like facial recognition software, anybody who knows anything about that, there's 12 points of reference that your phone, for example, will use to open it up. Biometrics, all that jazz. Well, they teach us how to watch out for those micro expressions. And I've asked many people, hey man, are you thinking about suicide? And they'll just stare, like almost in shock. I'm just waiting. And they'll just kind of move a little bit, or just look, or a little smirk, like, okay, I'll take that as a yes. And then start the conversation. They said, no. I'm just shocked that you would ask me that question. Again, articulate why you're asking. Hey, here's why I'm asking, man. I love you. I care about you. You've been acting like a goofball lately. You've been doing dumb stuff out there. You've been driving like an idiot. You went and bought a motorcycle. Why? Never ridden a motorcycle. What do you, we see that a lot with guys who deploy. They want to replace that adrenaline. You go down range for so long unscathed. Well, now you come back home, nothing's blowing up. You're not being shot at on the daily. They would want to replace that adrenaline. So we watch out for that. And that would be a behavior thing, or actions in this case. Any other questions before we go this really cool iceberg? Fine. Here we go. Make it this back. Sorry, I sing when I multitask.
I got one question.
Yep, go ahead.
What do you do if it's a loved one? I mean, I work for the state, the Department of Corrections, so I've gone through suicide prevention like every year and stuff. But when it comes to a loved one, as far as like a child of yours, when that child comes out and says, I wanted to kill myself, because I'm having an issue right now with my 14-year-old. He's dealing with some mental problems and stuff, and that is dealing with me too. With some of the things I'm dealing with physically, and when he says that kind of stuff, I mean, I don't think he means it. I think he's trying to get like a response out of me and my wife, But I mean, something you have to take serious, I mean. It's hard to, how can I say this? I'm not saying take him serious, but because you got to, but to talk to him, just
right.
To have him open up when he doesn't want to open up, because he's he's your kid, so it's not as going out and seeing a fellow shipmate or a person I work with, you don't have that, I'm not going to say openness, but you know what I mean? It's just.
I do, Jeff, and that sucks, man. I'm sorry. So in short, make sure you and I connect so I can help out. Okay.
Okay.
All right. When I do the one-on-one stuff, it is completely free, and I have no problem doing it. But to answer your question, for me, it has been easy because I am not a clinician, and we know that clinicians have ethical laws that forbid getting involved with family members. I get that. I'm not bound by those laws. I just teach prevention, how to have a conversation, do scenarios, stuff like that. But yeah, if he's bringing it up, say, okay, tell me why. What's going on? When they say, well, high school's tough. Yes, it is. None of us were born at 18, were we?
Yeah.
You know, exactly. So yeah, tell them, hey, I went, you know, and this is the great part when you're having this conversation that you can, if you have like experience, I always tell people share that, but ask for permission. Say, you know what, son, I went through bullying too. I always ask people in every crowd, who here has never been bullied ever?
Mhm.
It's very rare that, you know, someone raises their hand because we all have in some
Yeah.
fashion, you know, whether it be at work, school, shoot, in family. You know, there's people inside of our family that pick on us because, you know, family sucks sometimes, but I get that. But just ask them why. Tell me why you're saying this. What's going on? What's going on outside of our four walls that we're not seeing that I can help you with? And the last one I helped out, the dad was pretty cool, you know, and he says, look, if I had this training 6 months ago, he goes, I would have been better equipped to pick up on what you're going through. He goes, but I didn't. He goes, but I'm getting it now. He's like, and so are you, because I had him on speaker at the same time. He said, you're getting it now too. He's like, which means we're both better equipped at the same time to help each other. He's like, help me be a better father to pay attention to what you need. You be a better son and be honest with me. He goes, and we'll fix this. And I got to be honest with him too. I was like, hey, 10 years from now, you might have these thoughts again. Thoughts are fine. Actions are not fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll connect, Jeff, after this, and we'll get it squared away, man.
Okay, thanks.
Even though you're in the Navy, okay. Okay. I'm playing. Anything else before I go to this cool little iceberg? All right, guys. And by the way, Jeff, that took courage to bring up, man. All right. There we go. Okay. So here's what I call the behavior iceberg. You see that big red line right there in the middle? Everything above at the tip of the iceberg is our behavior, and this is what we will show people. We will do this for almost anybody in our walk of life. We are very methodical about it if you think about it. I'm going to show you that I'm tough. If I'm in a leadership position, whatever, I'm tough. I'm in charge. I'm in control. That's what I want you to see. If I'm scared, now it became my barrier, and I'm not going to let you see my fear. I'm going to let you see what I want you to see. So it's all these things, and everything below it is what we're going to talk about here in the next couple 2-3 minutes. And as you see, the categories of triggers, work at home, are the trauma from childhood and abuse, and then the bottom is depression. I put depression, substance abuse at the bottom because I want to talk about undiagnosed mental illness. And the deeper we go, for you guys that know about the ocean, the pressure is going to build. It's going to get tougher. It's going to squeeze you more. Why? Because we're not dealing with it at the beginning. You know, and too often when it comes to suicidal behavior, I see people downstream treading freaking water. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not how we solve this problem. And this approach, folks, just so you know, I used when I was the program manager for suicide prevention for the Army. And I was able to eliminate suicide among 3 military bases for the year 2019, just using this stuff on how to have a conversation. So I know it works if we apply it and we reinforce it. But why do we have so many freaking people in the water just trying to stay afloat? What I want to see is what's going on upstream, for one, and who's throwing these people in upstream. So I'm going to talk to that person too. Now, make no mistake, when someone dies by suicide and they kill themselves, the only person at fault is the individual who did it. Now, I don't want to be insensitive when I say this. It's very rare that you come across somebody who is not affected by suicide directly or indirectly. So I'm not being insensitive. In my 24 years career, I lost 182 people just to suicide, more than I lost to combat. And my biggest question was, who keeps throwing these guys in? Because we know that bad people, bad leaders, bad supervisors, bad managers, all that jazz, and toxic people in our life are contributing factors. Those were the people that throwing these dudes in, but going downstream, I'm like, I can't keep up. So let's break this down. Dave Parnell retired, fired from Detroit Fire Department. He's retired now. They did a show about his fire department. I think it was called Burn, maybe 2012, maybe. Anyways, when he said, I wish my head could forget what my eyes have seen, I'm like, wow. You know, the dude has never seen combat. It has all been first responder trauma. You know, that's got to be major. you know, and you're in Detroit, so it's probably almost every single day, multiple times during a day. So here's how I talk about triggers. Triggers are healthy. We need to know how to respond to them because they will come up again over and over, sometimes multiple times in the day. My trigger is the smell of burning hair. Anybody who's been around dead bodies from roadside bombs, combat, stuff like that, you can relate. I say that because that's the first thing I would smell when I would, you know, get exposed to it. Here's the great science behind this, and here's why this is such a positive thing. Your emotional state will dictate how you respond to your trigger when you're exposed to it. So let's put this in perspective real quick. I'm going to stop the share so I can see your faces. So say, for example, Christine and I are going to Disneyland. Okay. You like Disneyland. Okay. Right. Okay. Fine. Just making sure. So say her and I getting ready to go to Disneyland, and she's curling and burning her hair because she needs to look Disney perfect because we're about to see Mickey and all these guys. And she wants to make sure that her Star Wars outfit looks epic for Galaxy's Edge. You know, things I appreciate. So I'm in a good mood. I get a whiff of that odor. I'm probably just going to separate and move on. Why? Because I'm in a really good mood. What if her and I are getting ready for a funeral? See the difference? Your emotional state will dictate how you respond to your trigger. And this is why we have to know how to deal with it. It's supposed to be a healthy thing. Because if you do get exposed to it, and say you and I have the same kind of trigger, here's the beauty behind it. It's unique to you. Many people can have the same thing, but it's unique to them. How they respond to it is unique to them. And what's another great thing about all this stuff? This stuff has no age limit. Meaning, trauma does not age, and suicidal thoughts do not have an age. This concept of how we approach how to deal with it is age. It does not have the discriminatory nature of age. We can do this for a 10-year-old. We can do it for an 80-year-old. So yeah, that's trauma. That's easy. That's easy to deal with now that we know how to respond to it when we're exposed to it, because we will. And it froze on me 1 second. There we go. Think about this. Some of us might be working adults, all right, that are going to school, and that's not uncommon. It is almost impossible to separate these three elements if they're existing at the same time. I love when people say, leave work at work and leave your home issues at home. Really? How? For example, if I get in a fight with my wife before I go to work or before I get on a meeting and I'm distracted. Why? Because I'm thinking about that argument. And I'm thinking about how insane she is. No, I'm joking. Let's be honest. Women typically are right. Okay, let's just accept that reality. And I'm feeling regret. I'm feeling like crap. I'm like, dang it, I don't want the rest of the day to go like this. It's just going to fester, yada, yada, yada. You know, you're distracted. So say your job, say you're a first responder, where your life and other people's lives are in your hands. You know, and if you're distracted because you got in a fight with your significant other, that's a problem. As soon as you get to work, I'd be like, hey man, I need to talk about something. Got in a fight. It wasn't a big deal, but it's got me distracted. Here's what was said. Yeah, okay, be honest. What did you say? Oh yeah, I said these things. Okay, well, that was kind of stupid. You know, get it out. And it's no different when you come home from work. Because our professional lives, let's be honest, they will intermingle. I think it's just impossible. I mean, we're not robots. We can't walk to the threshold of the door and say, well, that was a crappy day, but it's over now. Why? Because I'm home and it's going to backfire. I've got 2 corgis. Do they care about my day? No, they're just happy I'm home. What if I'm not in the mood to deal with the corgis? Is that going to be healthy? No. You've got to let it out and tell your significant other, whoever you have, say, hey, you know what? Work sucked today. I just want to take a shower. Can I talk to you about it? Find whatever coping mechanism works for you to get the day off your chest. And if it's the drive home, hey, I'm on my way home. It's pretty bad. I was military police, so several times I'd be coming home and I have somebody else's blood all over me. And I would call, say, hey, I'm on my way home. Keep the kids inside. I'm going to go in the garage and take everything off, put it in the washer, and go straight to the shower, and then I'll come out. That was the coping mechanism you had to create. So figure out whatever works for you. Is it possible that we still hold on to childhood trauma and abuse? Yeah. You know, I'm a Gen Xer. So was I beat down? Yes. My dad had a leather belt with his name on it. So yes. Did he like me? No. Why? Because I was a hellion. I never got busted by the cops or anything per se, but I was rebellious. So I get beat down a lot. And I'm open about this as well. My number one reason for joining the Army in 1995 was to escape an abusive environment from my dad and my stepmom. And I had a sergeant major telling me this years later. He goes, "That's not honorable." I was like, "What? You should have joined to serve your country, to be a patriot." I said, "Well, I am those." I was like, "And it is honorable, Sergeant Major. I freaking volunteered. Whatever person's reason for joining our military, it's all honorable. But we hold on to that trauma because it doesn't age. Trauma's got no expiration date. I still have dreams from what I experienced from 1997 to 1999 when I was stationed in Europe and did some stuff down south in that region. And when I wake up, it's like it happened yesterday. Talk about it. Find your coping mechanisms. I will talk openly about my dreams with my wife. I don't go into the grotesque. She doesn't need to know that. But she knows my top 3 worst dreams. And if I just say one key little indicator, she's like, "Okay, what do you need?" Usually I just go back to sleep. I'm fine. I'm going to go upstairs and get a bowl of cereal. I'm going to watch some Friends or some Seinfeld, something mindless, and just get my mind off it, come back to bed in a minute. However, if I tell her I need to get in my truck, I need to go for a drive, I need to listen to music, she knows it's bad. And what does she do? Okay, see you when we get back. You got to figure that out with your loved ones. I get really excited. And to me, this is an invitation. When people say, "This is the worst day of my entire life." Oh man, no, it's not. Your next worst day is coming. It's going to be epic. It's going to make this one look like a freaking vacation. And the same is true when it's your best day. No, it's not. Life's not over. You're going to have it. It might be one of your favorite days, one of your greatest days, but your next best day is coming. As soon as we put a limit on good days, bad days, to me, that's an invitation. And that's a subtle indicator that you got to pay attention to. Like, hey, well, what do you mean today's your best day of your entire life? Yes, nothing is ever going to get better than this. I'm good. Okay, are you checking out? I don't understand. Are you thinking about suicide with that? Well, yeah, this day can't get better. I've had that happen. I've actually had those conversations with people. When they say that's the worst day, I'm like, okay, what happened today? I lost people. Okay, yeah, combat sucks. Who'd you lose? I would always ask that. And my fellow soldiers would ask me, who'd you lose? I would tell them their name. Get that out. Say it out loud. Because that way their memory doesn't die. Because when we talk about depression, if you go through life never feeling depressed, in my opinion, you're just not paying attention. You're apathetic. I think it's impossible to go through life not feeling depressed about something at some point. I'm not talking about clinical diagnosed depression here, where it's long-term, needs medication, stuff like that. That's a little different. I'm talking about those moments that just are so gripping. It's like, it's the bottom of the iceberg. The pressure is unbelievable. Then add substance abuse on top of that doesn't help. We know this. Here's another true story. I got hurt really bad once. And I was in a wheelchair. Couldn't walk, couldn't see. After that part was over, I had to learn how to walk again as an adult, and it took another 6 months. And the Army wanted to medically retire me. I was like, no, I'm not done. Is that tenacity? Is it the I don't give up attitude? Is it just stubbornness? Who knows? But I can tell you this much, I was beyond depressed. Because I saw how it affected my kids. They saw how it was affecting me. And I was completely honest about that subject with them, with my psychiatrist that I got assigned to, all that jazz. And that's the best part when it comes to this. The conversation, quite honestly, is designed to just be an honest conversation. Hear them out, validate those feelings. They're feeling that way. You ever go to a funeral and everybody else around you is crying and say you're not? They're like, why aren't you crying? I'm like, yeah, you can't make me feel how you feel. I can't make you feel how I feel. But in this conversation, saying, I understand why you feel that way. Yes, that's hard. So, I had one guy that had the top 3 all at the same time. His wife left him, filed for divorce. Immediately that brought him down to a single income. And as an E4 in the military, we know guys don't get paid that well. The money she was making, she was actually the breadwinner. Now he's like, dang, why? I got to move back in the barracks. This is nuts. All these things are happening. Then he had legal issues. Why? Because he got a DUI. Why did he get a DUI? Because he was trying to rush home because he got caught by the girl's husband that he was messing around with. So we got relationship issues, divorce because you screwed up. You've got financial issues because you're not going to make as much money. Oh, and you're probably gonna have to pay, alimony and stuff like that. And this was in the state of Arizona, so he was definitely gonna have to pay. And then you got the legal issues because you got a DUI as a service member. And we all know it doesn't matter if it happens on the base, off the base, your career is pretty much over in most cases. So he had all these things happen at the same time. So when they called me and said, hey, can you talk to this guy? We think he's suicidal. I was like, cool, give me some background. When they told me, I was like, oh man, okay, wow, far out. And we're talking, and he's like, yeah, I just want to kill myself. I can't go on, da, da, da. So we found all kinds of reasons for him to exist. And the self-worth that you find for someone to keep going, it should be something that's already around them. You don't want to create something new, something that we can't deliver. Hey, I'll go buy the winning lottery ticket if you don't kill yourself today. You see, I'm going with that. What is going on in your life that gives you self-worth? We had to find that. And then I said, because you have to be honest, accountability is on the individual who's thinking about suicide. I told him, I said, you do realize that you caused all these problems that you want to kill yourself with? He's like, yeah, I know. It's okay. Say it out loud. He's like, I cheated on my wife. I got caught. Okay, cool. What else? I got pulled over because I was speeding. I was trying to get home before she got the phone call. Okay, cool. What else? Yeah, I got busted for DUI and they get into Article 15. Okay. And who did that? I did that. Who's responsible for that? He's like, I am. Who's responsible for keeping themselves alive? He's like, me. I was like, are you still thinking about suicide? He's like, no. Still got him evaluated. That's appropriate. So that is my stuff in a nutshell. Well, that's your questions. I know it's a lot of information to take in, I went over a little bit, but yeah, about half an hour.
Yeah, brother. Dude, thank you for opening up and sharing that, man. It's,
Thank you.
I think it's also beneficial for us to unveil ourselves in front of each other. And it really helps us heal, like you were saying earlier. Whenever you say it out loud, it starts that process of getting better. And also whenever you open up to another brother or sister who's going through something, it also kind of gives them a, wow, this guy, this brother, this sister that's sitting right next to me is actually opening up about their own stuff. And it could really help them open up their stuff. Because you just said, hey, man, I'm vulnerable too, man. And this is what I got going on. And I really do appreciate you sharing that and making a point of that.
I dig it. Yeah, and it's true because let's be honest, men do not talk. And the goal for my company is they want to get me in 100 communities in the next 18 months. And we want to hit rural America big time because we know that rural America has very few services available. And if it's rural, that usually means blue collar type work. So we're talking about men, beards, thick dudes, calloused, all that jazz, hardcore guys that can work 12 hours a day in the sun, go home, sleep for 6 hours and do it all over again. They will not talk about feelings. Military struggled to talk about feelings. When I took over the program in 2015, I was on probation for a year, so I had to find my niche, trying to find the right delivery method, and I'm working on policies, et cetera, et cetera. And when I went live with it, oh man, I made enemies like almost immediately. The one department that blocked me the most from cooperation was our mental health department. They said a unlicensed mental health individual cannot do this. You need to be a clinician, you need to be licensed through your state, yada, 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 all this jazz. I was like, guys, I'm not talking about me taking over your jobs. I'm just talking about doing this really radical thing called work together. And then it was like, whoa, then it was telling senior leaders, hey, you're doing it wrong. You're not a clinician. You can't say, oh, that dude's fine. That's not your call. And don't treat it like it's criminal. That's why, I don't know if you guys have paid attention, I will never use the word commit in front of suicide. And that's one way we can change culture. If we can get rid of that word, and let me explain. And I know it's very common to say commit suicide. He committed suicide. She committed suicide. Because it's a commonplace phrasing. But murderers commit murder. Rapists commit rape. Nobody commits suicide because it's not a crime. If we stop treating it like a criminal act, people would open up more. It's fine to get law enforcement there when you need it. I get that. but tell them what they're walking into and make sure they are trained in some capacity in mental health response. Otherwise, they're calling a SWAT team, da 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 da. Why? Because the guy's yelling inside. All he's doing is yelling. He's hurting. Did you ask him why? You know, so that's my take on that. That's one way we can change cultures. Get rid of that word commit.
What would you
How-
suggest for the people that don't want to talk about their feelings? Like you just said, some of these older men and women who are veterans who don't want to talk about their feelings, who have been raised not to talk about their feelings. And then you're starting this conversation with them. How are you feeling?
Okay. Every time I get blocked where the conversation's not happening, and I know there's something going on there, it's thick as mud. They'll say, hey, you want to go for a walk? Want to go for a drive? Come on, let's do something. Let's sit down. Do you want to sit and have a beer? Whatever. I'll go buy you dinner. I'm gonna wait and wait. And I'll just start telling stories. And I'm not gonna tell stories that's gonna scare them. I'm gonna tell them the stories of all the crazy crap that actually happens in the military. You know, one of my favorite ones to open up to is any officers in this group, lieutenants, stuff like that. Okay. Do we haze lieutenants? Yes. Yes, we do. In the military, we were, especially in the Army, we were experts at it. So I would just start opening up crazy stories like, yeah, you know, I had this one lieutenant. We convinced him if a turret rotated counterclockwise 3 times simultaneously, it just popped off. That's how we did maintenance. You know, the guy would just kind of look like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I'd get him talking about something else other than what their struggle is. You know, all right, I used to tell his lieutenant, hey, go see the commissar sergeant and get me a dozen BA 1100 Novembers. Well, the commissar sergeant caught on, and he had a little helium tank there. So when a new lieutenant would show up to get these BA 1100 Novembers, he gave him a dozen red balloons on a string. So, you know, we would do stuff like that. So funny things. And then they start talking like, no, that didn't happen. Yeah, it did. Do all these crazy things. I had a gunner telling me that was in a turret. He's like, hey, Sergeant, don't worry about it, man. They're only shooting tracers. And I see those coming. I'm like, oh no. You know, and to those who know, it's like, oh, wow, that's pretty stupid. Yeah, it was pretty stupid. You know, then when I start talking, I'm going to start opening them up about my struggles. I have never been suicidal. Never have. But I will tell them that, man, have I been depressed? Have I thought it's not going to get better? You know, when you open up about a personal struggle, especially having to learn how to walk again, yeah, they start thinking, okay, you know, and that's not a comparison. It's sharing an experience. And I'll always ask, hey, can I share this with you? Like, yes. Sometimes they're like, crap, I want to kill myself because, you know, I didn't bet on the Chiefs this last Super Bowl. Okay, well, that's not my fault. But you want to kill yourself because you lost a little bit of money. Huh, okay. So then they start to open up and just pay attention to that conversation. They're going to throw the carrots out there for what's going on. You just got to pick up on it. That's why I say have a conversation. Don't do a checklist. And I was actually got put on the team that would help certify young and up and coming clinicians. And I saw this one, she was actually talking to a patient who was diehard suicidal. And she's got her little checklist. She goes, okay, you look like you're sad. Yes, sad. And I started doing like check marks. I was like, oh man, what is she doing, man? And then she goes through everything. She goes, well, you should be suicidal. He's like, I am suicidal. And it shocked her. And she didn't know what to do after that. So we had to stop the session. That's not how we do this. Because then immediately she went into, why would you want to do that? You have everything going for you in your life. How do you know? We have no idea what's going on in someone's personal life until we allow them to trust us. And it's just like you said, Chris, we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is not a weakness. That is 100% strength. Because then you create a connection with that person. And then you create trust. And then they're going to see somebody else down the road say, hey, man, you should go talk to Chris. Because I opened up to that guy and man, he helped me. He got me on the straight and narrow. I see what's happening with you. Can we bring him in? You can trust him. That's how we change it. That's why I want to get in those communities to teach folks like us, you know, the people that pay attention to other people on a daily basis. And everybody that we get involved in, our first responders, our military, active veterans, all that jazz. These guys are the ones that can be at risk. But I just found out that veterinarians in the medical field have the highest suicide rate of all medicine. How crazy is that? One person said, why? I'm not dealing with people. Okay. Say you have a veterinarian, a young one, say 28, finished school, all that jazz. They're at a clinic, and the friends that you knew now have a child. They bring their child in with a brand new little puppy. In about 10 to 15 years, they're going to be bringing that puppy in again to either deal with an illness or to put it down. So we found out that they are high on the radar when it comes to suicide. So that's the demographic we're definitely going to hit.
Greg, I want to ask you, how would you suggest someone deals with someone that's having suicidal ideations if they're not close to being able to be there, or if the person stops responding? What would you suggest be the first course of action? How should that be handled?
911. If you know something's going on and they're not answering, and you've had the conversation with them and they're still not answering, I'd get a hold of 911 saying, hey, I was talking to this guy a couple hours ago, and I got the call got disconnected, and he says he's armed. He says he has the capability, the means, the desire. Here's what's been going on in his life. Here's the address. Here's his name. I don't know what kind of medications he's on. I'm still trying. Here's his number. I would call 911 immediately. I've had people call me in the middle of the night saying, hey, I've got a troop here, and he's saying that he's going to jump out the window. I was like, well, you wasted time calling me. You know, have there been times I've gone into unsafe situations? Yes. Yes. I've had guys do it right in front of me. That's why I say 911, because if you should not have to be willing to put your life in jeopardy to save somebody else, if that makes sense. And I say that because too often what we see in this paradigm shift of behavior is I'm not going out alone. You know, so that's a consideration we have to take into play here. But yeah, if you lose contact, you know something's going on, they're not answering, I would call 911. If you get a hold of a family member, every time I had to deal with kids, you know, I was like, hey, we contacted mom and dad. You know, mom and dad's trying to call, they're not answering. Okay, cool. It was the last place we saw them, and try to figure it out. And that's why if we set up this network across North America and all these communities, you know, you're going to have resources to reach out to, because people will be better equipped and say, hey, there's 2 of us, 3 of us, let's go over there and let's talk to them. You know, it's not an intervention. It's we're going to save your life, man. What's going on? Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah,
You
brother,
guys,
man.
at this
That's-
time, we're doing open forum, so feel free to unmute, ask questions, share your experiences around this topic. And again, feel free to just unmute and talk.
Hey, so it's open. Does anybody have anything that they want to share or anything like that, like Christine said?
Hey, Chris. Hey, everybody. I'm actually, as part of my nonprofit, I have a supporter that's called Duty Bound Apparel, and they actually do shirts that say, I'll put it in the chat. It says 22 on it, and they the guys who's the owner of the company, his dad died of Agent Orange, Vietnam veteran, but they were one of the first people to donate money to my nonprofit, and his mom's a Gold Star mom, and so just check it out. But it's just one of those things where they're very supportive of this topic, and because we've all been there, especially being in the military, you know, our brothers and sisters have been through this. So, but just check out the link, and if you can support this guy, he's really trying to help out military families and suicide prevention.
Definitely. Especially if you don't agree with something
thing
that's said.
about this, what you're
Oh, go
talking
ahead,
about. Sorry. Well, the one thing that I was listening to you talk about your thing is the difference between listening and hearing. We hear all the time, but we never listen. And when you listen, you sort of start to take away your feeling of what you want to do, and just take in what they're saying. When you hear somebody, it's all about, oh, you're thinking about how to respond to what they're saying instead of just taking in what they're saying. So when you listen, it's different than hearing. And we always in the military, you always listen. You're always listening because you're listening for instruction.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening for one thing or another. we don't hear anything except when you're out drinking. But one of the problems is that we have when we get out is that we don't listen anymore. We just hear what we're, because we always want to say what we want to say. Oh, that happened. Yeah, but what did this happen to me? You know, instead of just going, okay, yeah, cool, man, I hear you. You know, all right, then what do we need to do about it? So sometimes I'll stop myself and be like, am I listening to this or am I hearing this?
No, that's a good point. I appreciate that, Hank. And in this conversation, you're right. There should be more 80, if we had to put a number on it, 80% listening and 20% talking. You know, because if you're going to sit there and say, hey, tell me what's going on, I want to hear your story. And I had a first sergeant, had a young troop getting divorced. He says, what's going on? You look sad. He goes, well, I am. He goes, why are you sad? Well, I'm getting divorced. He's like, okay, is this your first marriage? He said, well, yes, first sergeant. He goes, well, crap, kid, you don't know anything about heartache. I've been divorced 6 times. I was like, what the heck? So when I get the call, I was like, hey, stop. Don't brag about that, man. That's not a cool stat. That's like saying I'm the senior E4 in the military. That is not a proud thing to be. No. I was like, you just compared. You just basically told this kid who's hurting, you don't know crap about heartache, man. And you just completely invalidated him. And you created a barrier to communication. I see that too often. I had a coworker. Sadly, he didn't last long in the position, but you know, he made a comment when we were teaching people. We were TDY. We were a different base. The opening line was, the reason why we're having so many problems in the military today is because of all you freaking millennials. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, you did not just say that out loud. You know, I'm like, okay. So, you know, I had to be the Band-Aid. I was like, yeah, check this out. That's not accurate. You know, and here's why. The second that we take, I mean, a generational name, it's just that. When you use it and say, here's why we're screwed up today because of you guys who were just born. No, you just created a barrier to communication. And another thing I'll add to that is the biggest barrier to communication, and one of the biggest contributing factors, quite honestly, that I've seen has been discrimination. And I'm not talking about skin color. I'm not talking about man and woman. I'm talking about people being discriminatory over all kinds of stuff. You know, what kind of car you drive, what kind of car you don't drive. Do you own guns? So you don't own guns. You know, what is your belief system? Do you have a belief system? Do you believe in God? Are you an atheist? Yada, yada, yada. I mean, the discrimination factor in our modern society has just taken a whole new beast. When people are using that as a weapon to degrade others. And I've been seeing an increase in the suicidal behavior. And I say, hey, man, what got you to this point? Because you got to identify those contributing factors. What got you to this point? Well, I'm being discriminated against at school. Okay. For what? Well, because I have a mom and a dad. Oh, okay. Or the other side of the fence, I have 2 moms. I have 2 dads. We're seeing all these things happening. We're going into arenas that we're not prepared for emotionally. We're attacking people. In my day, kids would get picked on because my dad's an officer, your dad's enlisted. It was insane. I was like, wow, you know, it's just the dumbest thing. Or, you know, well, my dad's a cop. Well, my dad's a sheriff deputy. Well, my dad's a state cop. I saw that too. It was just insane. And the worst thing that we create as a human society, in my opinion, is discrimination and racism. And I know this could be a delicate subject, but it bears on the conversation. You know, when you fill out your demographics on a sheet, your how-to, your where-froms, I say be proud of that. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of your background, your ethnicity. Don't let that history die. Okay, be proud of that. But only one question on that sheet with 2 possible answers should really matter. Are you human? Yes or no, so we can freaking move on. It's that simple. Because dogs aren't suicidal. I live up here in Washington, so sometimes the robins, this time of year when they eat the berries outside my tree, I think they're suicidal because they've nosedived in my freaking French doors down here in my man cave at least more than once. You know, deer, sometimes late at night, they have issues, okay? But the only species on the planet that looks for something discriminatory in somebody else and judges somebody else are humans. I had a lady raise her hand. She goes, I don't judge. I was like, okay. And she stands up and she goes, seriously, I didn't like that comment you made in your class. I was like, okay, can you tell me why? So I love the feedback. And she says, well, I don't judge people. I'm Christian. I was like, fantastic. And then in the same breath, she's like, but this dude right here needs Jesus. I was like, thank you. You just illustrated the point.
Yes.
She was upset at the soldier sitting next to her that was agitated. And I saw him. He stood like a sore thumb. He's sweating. His knees are dancing. I'm like, okay, there's something going on there. He just got from Fort Hood, where he lost friends to suicide. He gets to Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And the policy at the time was, if you just had the training, 1 year period, but you switched bases, you got to do it all over again. He did not want to hear what he missed all over again. He was pissed. And I said, good. I'm glad you're pissed. It's okay to be pissed. But you didn't do that. That was not your fault. If we've lost guys downrange, survivor's remorse is a huge contributing factor to suicidal behavior. And it's hard to remind people, hey man, look, I wasn't there when that happened to you, but you didn't do that. And that's where you got to be honest.
I'd like to welcome
Nobody-
everybody that came onto the show right now, the platform, and right now we're having open forum. So please, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns or anything that you want to share, please.
We
feel
also
free.
want to
Unmute
hear about
yourself
your
and talk.
events. We also want to hear about your events. So if you got an event happening here soon, please share it.
Well, open forum, you guys, is a time where we can talk about any topics you're going through, whether it's claims, whether it's medical, whether it's housing, whether it's a resource you're looking for either your group
One thing,
or a resource you're looking
I'll
for
shout out
personally.
something really
And
quick.
again,
I'll shout out
Uh,
something really quick,
Okay.
if you don't mind. I've been talking to a lot of veterans out there in the community, obviously, right, running Mill to Vet, and I'm finding a trend that a lot of our older generation still haven't had their benefits done for their disability. So please make that a common conversation, because they get their benefits taken care of. They're going to get a lot more resources for them, and they earned it. They served, they deserve it. So please make it a common question whenever we talk to each other. Hey, did you take care of your disability claim? Put a little bit of pressure under them on that, because our brothers and sisters, they deserve it, right? Anybody disagree?
Not at all. Not at all. That's one thing that I've been doing too with the Rock 22. I've been trying to help out individuals that don't have the VA, don't have the benefits yet or whatnot. So I got 2 guys hooked up already with them. And then I'm working with some guys at my work as well. And they're going through that trajectory medical and stuff to help them, because that company helped me out as well. So just to get the information out there too is a big part of what we're doing and what I'm doing, just to give them the support that they need, because it's not always easy to ask for it. So if we just tell them about it and say, hey, we'll help you out, then that's what I try to do.
No, I dig it.
Could we have Tom introduce yourself? Sorry to put you on the spotlight.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Sometimes I have a little technical difficulty here. Excuse me. Thomas, he is current board president for Patriots in Paws. Thanks for including me in the link and allowing me to be on this. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Tiffany, would you mind sharing who you are, and welcome to the show?
Sure. So my name is Tiffany Marchink. I retired from the Army about 4 or 5 years ago, and I host the Medal of Honor podcast. And since you or somebody just said, mention any events coming up, I'm starting a book club for veterans and first responders, and I have 13 authors who served in the military, some of which also served as police officers or detectives, and we will be covering their books each month. So tomorrow we will be doing a launch party, just connecting with each other, playing a couple of icebreaker games, and just calling it a book club launched, I guess. So that's me.
Thank you for sharing. DM3 Global, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
You're on mute. You're still on mute.
And he's under attack.
There we go. I'm sorry.
There we
I have a dog biting me. I have a new puppy and he's attacking me and I couldn't get to the button. I'm Dave Warren. I've known Christine for a while and she invited me on after I had a wonderful conversation today with Craig. I'm nobody pertaining to what you guys do, but I'm working with, my company we are a sales rep group for medical devices and services throughout the United States. We help people steer away from what is known as, modern medicine, where you go in, they write your script and you pop a pill and you leave. We have things that help people be proactive in their healthcare, and it helps monitor them and let them know what they're doing. These companies that I work with, my first and foremost question is to them, the CEOs and the president, are you interested in helping our military and first responders and a resigning? So I am working with them, and with the conversation I had with Craig today, I am going to them to talk to them about the behavioral health side of our business. There's a thing called RPM. It's called remote patient monitoring, and we can help them with their anxiety. We can help them with their depression. We can help them with other things, and there's ways of doing it. And we have a company that does behavioral health. Everybody's heard of telemedicine, telehealth. Well, they're now all bought and owned by big pharma or big medical companies. So the company that I'm with is independent, and they're focused on, once again, helping the individual. You can get a plan, a simple plan from anybody for $24 a month, and it covers your whole family. And you can have as many calls as you want, everything. And we're launching the behavioral health side of this. And I'm going to be working with them directly to introduce Craig, Christine, and her group to them and see what we can come up with. So that's me. I'm in Arizona. I'm based in Arizona. My dad was in the Navy. My grandparents were in the military. Family, friends are all military. So that's me. This is my puppy, Bronx. I'm a New Yorker. I was born in New York. So I ran and got my hat just to piss Craig off because they saw his Boston hat. So there you go. See, my We the People hat, and there. So
I know a great therapist that can help you with that problem. Yeah.
And I
I got
tell
27. I don't care about your 5.
Hey, I got to tell you something. That whole thing of I'm not doing all the good stuff that you guys are doing, that's a bunch of bull.
Thank
You're
you.
doing great
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah, well,
good
I
point.
appreciate it, but I'm not a shy guy, but when it comes to talk to military and what they do every day, standing on the wall, now, past, present, is very, very powerful to me. And I don't compare any one of those men and women. So that's just how I feel.
Okay, well, I know this
Perspective-wise-
is my first time coming to this group here. So I might be banned now that I'm like
No.
calling you out and stuff. But seriously, guy, I mean, that's a bunch of bull. Don't ever say that again. Like that
All
you
right,
don't do anything,
well-
especially compared to whoever else.
And
Okay,
I mean,
y'all can
Yeah,
take me out
Tiffany,
now.
I love that. I love that right now. And brother, we all serve in our own our own capacity and way. It's not all going to be the same. So, brother, yeah.
That's great to have you on, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for what you do. And Penny, I'd love to hear more about Patriots and Paws and where we are now. You're on mute.
You mean I'm not speaking? That's a first.
Yeah.
So in the chat, I put, we are having a barbecue smoke-off competition next Saturday here in Orange County, come from far and wide, including Arizona. We'll have people out here competing, saying that they're the world's best smokers. It gets you an opportunity to come out and see the warehouse and see what we do. And, you know, I didn't serve either, but I serve every day. And I'm going to get caught.
You sure do.
I'm going to cry. Okay. So, and I'm not a
You're
cry.
allowed.
I'm a Marine's daughter. So my purpose in life right now is to make sure none of our veterans go without if I have anything to do with it. And what we do at Patriots and Paws, who don't know, and most of you do, we provide home goods and furnishings for veterans, active military, and reservists throughout Southern California. We are expanding to Las Vegas, hopefully very soon. And one of the things that we do, we just did last Sunday, and we really, really want this to pick up, at least I do. We offer an opportunity for anybody who wore a uniform to come to our warehouse for 3 hours, the second Sunday of the month, and just be. There's no agenda. There's no nothing. Conversations like you were talking about tonight can certainly happen there. We don't have spouses. We don't have kids. There's no therapist. It is just come and talk about whatever you need with no judgment. And we do that once a month. We provide a light meal, and it's just, you know, it's just a time for whoever needs an ear to be listened to. That's what we provide, is a place. And I hate the word safe space, but it really is just a space for anybody that has served to come here and just be with absolutely no judgment. And, you know, again, it is something I really want to work on, making bigger and better. Small is good, but there are people out there hurting, and those people need to be heard, and those people just need to be around other people. And one of the things that we do here is we have what we call our burden regret wall. And for those who haven't seen it, it is basically picket pallets on wheels put together as a fence. And we walk everybody out to it, and we say, leave whatever shit you need to leave behind here. Don't put anything self-identifiable on it. Write it, speak it, and when it comes back, just leave it behind. And our goal is, and we will never know unless somebody says anything, if one person starts to deal with whatever they're dealing with on that wall, and they do not kill themselves because they started dealing with it, then that wall is everything. And, you know, sometimes they got to start, and they got to start just by saying it to themselves. And, you know, I'm not a failure. I'm not this or whatever. And I am a survivor of suicide. I attempted it when I was 18. It's not something I make public, although I have no problem sharing it. I don't want somebody coming back and making me feel weird or whatever. You know, my parents brought me statistics after I attempted it, which was, you know, it's what they knew. So, and it was, for me, stupid, but, you know, I just want to be here for however we can for all of you that served. Whatever that means. I mean, I'm here at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night. I've been here since 7 this morning, and I will stay until midnight if I have to, and send text messages to people that say, don't wait up for me or whatever. If you guys need a place, we're here. And Christine knows that, and Yogi knows that, and other people online know that. We're just here. We're here for whatever we can help you and anybody that wore the uniform.
This is a warehouse, you guys. There are couches to sit on. This Support Sunday, it's just come and hang. I mean, it is the most comfortable place to be. I can't even relay that through the camera. She's right. They do more than just give home furnishings. There's support, there's food, sometimes there's snacks, there's dog treats, sometimes there's everything and anything. And sometimes there's not sometimes, all the time, there's a person here to talk to all the time. And I know Krieger Gaming was doing gaming events here, and check out when he's going to do it again. There are all different types of things that are going on here. And if you have something to offer to give veterans and you need a place to do it, we're here. So it's Anaheim, California, large warehouse, indoor, outdoor. Talk with Penny. If you're a veteran that needs furniture, send an email, make a call.
And our new support Sunday is Mother's Day, May 12th. We don't not have a support Sunday because there's a holiday, because some people need that extra support on a holiday. And so it doesn't matter what time of day it is, or, you know, what's happening on that day. And we have we now have a veteran liaison and his spouse, which is a dependent liaison. They're usually here on Tuesday, but I can always put somebody in contact with them. You know, she understands being a spouse of health issues and deployments and all those kinds of things. So, and, you know, he understands being a veteran. So, you know, they tag team it and do it separately or together, whatever they need. But, you know, I hate when people say stuff and they know, and you know, when they say it, they're never going to do it. I'm not that person. And anybody that knows me that has, you know, I'm a person of my word, and that's how my Marine taught me. Not all the Marines were my dad, but that's how my Marine taught me. So I will continue to do everything that I possibly can, connecting and taking care of. But the one thing I do know is people need to take their own responsibility. I will help you till the world ends, as long as you're helping yourself. Because I can't force you stuff.
Hey, real quick, I want you guys to hear something. I'm reading a review right off of Google. You guys can look this up really quick. And this is about what Patriot and Paws is doing. And this is the kind of impact that they're having. I'm a 74-year-old U.S. Army veteran. The other day, Patriot and Paws helped furnish my one-bedroom apartment. They saved me $5,000 in retail furnishings. And he goes on and on and on. But right there, you just greatly impacted somebody with your organization. So when we say that this is a good organization, I mean, there's 173 reviews that you could go on there.
They're not all good, because they caught me on some bad days a couple of times. So they're not all good, but most of them are.
Oh, darn. You're human.
Yeah.
How dare you, Penny?
I'll own up
Oh
to
my
it.
goodness.
I've been a bitch a couple of times. I'm just saying, you know, and it's usually
Hey, we get
usually
thumbs
to the
down on our
spouses.
material, so it happens to everybody. It
Yeah,
happens
it's
to
usually
everybody.
the
It's
spouse. It's
normal.
usually the spouses that have a problem with it.
If you guys need furniture, if you need home furnishings, if you need anything that goes in those walls that you live in, the car that you live in, wherever you live, send an email or call. If you're active duty, reservist, veteran, doesn't matter your status, come in and get what you need.
Thank you for clarifying that, Christine. I know we talk a lot about the veterans, but this is also for the active duty, which is a huge deal. I know as an active duty person here myself, I can attest to that, and I have seen it with my own two eyes, right? And we sometimes, as active duty, we're like, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me because it's only for the veterans, right? We always want to push ourselves to a different category. Take advantage of this. Penny's here for you. This community is here for you. It's for all the military, active duty, reservists.
Tiffany, we're not in South Carolina yet, but SC is also here, Southern California. But we're working our way to Las Vegas. Eventually, we will work our way across. We've only been doing it 13 years, and we actually take mobile warehouses to Fort Irwin. We're actually doing it this weekend, and to Camp Pendleton. And we've actually had some stuff go from here to Las Vegas, which some of the stuff going to Fort Irwin is actually going to Las Vegas. But, you know, we're just expanding as much as we can. If people need stuff in other states, have them check their American Legions, their VFWs, places like that, because sometimes their members are looking for places to donate. The only issue with that is here you get a choice because we have a huge warehouse. If you're somewhere else and it's somebody's just giving it away, it's just kind of whatever they have. And yes, Tom, discharge status does not matter. And I'm very adamant about that because when you, all of you who served, when you walked into the recruiter's office, I don't believe your thing was, what can I get out of our government? Because y'all know better. But you went in and said, and signed the contract that said, I will die for America. And because you went into that recruiter's office and signed the contract, you may have found out you had a heart murmur when you went through medical and didn't know it. You still were going and willing to sacrifice for us. And that's why we serve everybody. The only two we will not, and they will never come to us, is while in uniform, rape and murder. Other than that, we take care of everybody. And we know those people will never come and ask us because they know nobody's going to help them. So.
Okay, can I interject really quick? So, I think he's already gone. Oh no, he's still here. So that D3M does not feel alone that I'm only picking on him. I guess. Well, so when I do my podcast, there are a couple of words that I try to tell people that they cannot use when we record their episode. Like, we've only been doing this for 13 years.
Thank
Only?
you.
Like, really? Only?
Thank you.
Or I will hear somebody say something like, I was only a cook, or I was only in
Thank
the
you.
National Guard. You know what? Take that word only out. Or I just served 3 years, or just only, or
Mhm.
big or as important as you guys. Look, you've been doing that for 13 years. I've been doing my podcast for 3. So 13 is a huge number to me.
Agreed. Fully
We've
agree.
only
Even though y'all are in
we've
California.
only helped 12,000 of you. We've only given away over almost $13 million in value only, but no, I take that to
So you
Tiffany.
just give stuff away, just give things away. You don't do much of anything else except for giving stuff away and providing a safe place. Oh goodness.
I know, right?
Right.
How dare you? What are you thinking? Quit your benevolence.
I'm just saying.
And thanks for sharing that review. I hadn't seen it.
I'm not trying to dominate this conversation, I promise, but it's just, I find myself here, and I'm guilty of it too. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But I've said the same thing. Oh, I was only in for 24 years, or I was just a chaplain assistant, or whatever else to minimize what I did. But that's a bunch of bull because, like you just said, Penny, it doesn't matter what my job was. Raise my right hand to do a job, and if there's to do in the military, it must be important. So yeah. I will shut up now.
Tiffany,
Hey,
thank
this is
you
open
for
forum.
bringing
No.
awareness of
Don't
that.
shut
Thank
up.
you.
You do
Thank
not.
you.
You
No,
don't
no,
need to
we
shut up.
appreciate you having you on the
This is
show.
what this. Yeah, this is what this is all about. It's all about us
Preach.
sharing and caring and hanging out and talking about what we think is important. And I mean, the furniture thing, I've been in a situation where I haven't had furniture for months because I was in a different place, and it just, moving between commands and stuff like that. And, the whole entire COVID timeframe, I know your team was killing it, helping tons of active duty personnel. So thank you for all that. Man,
But we
hey,
didn't
Jeff, can
close. Nobody told me I wasn't important, so I didn't close. I was like, you're gonna tell me I can't take care of my veterans? I don't think so.
Well, let me tell you something. Since I am new to this group, thanks to Chris Elder,
We'll hold them accountable. Don't worry.
Oh, you better. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So, and I say this not to put my stuff out there, but Penny, let me tell you that what you guys are doing is so incredibly important. The last 6 years of my time in the military, I was a reservist. I found myself homeless for 13 months, even and jobless, because the only job I had was as a reservist. And I lived in my storage unit or in my car. And then, because I could not pay off my storage unit, everything that I had from my 24 years of service is now gone because I lost it because I could not pay my units, my storage unit. So I lost it all. And then towards the end of that time of being homeless and now losing everything that I had gained while I was in, and when I say everything, I mean the stuff, everything. I was raped at the end of that time frame. So I got all those triple whammies all in at one time frame. So when I hear you talking about what you guys do of creating that safe place for people to talk and supporting the service members and veterans, I think you are doing the most amazing thing ever. I really,
Yes.
Thank you.
I think it's powerful. Now, if you guys would just come on to the East Coast, we'd be good to go. But
I gotta
I won't
start.
hold it
I
against
gotta
you.
start somewhere. So my nephew is currently 17 years in the Nevada National Guard, and he's the reason why we started. He came home from his second deployment and said, "My unit needs help," and I'm the world's best aunt, and proudly I say that. And so I started this, and so I got it going, and it's time for us to. It's time for us to go to Las Vegas, and I've got team members who were like, okay, when are we going to Texas and Florida?
Ohio asked for you too.
Yeah. So, there's only so much of me. But we'll get there,
And do you know, I don't know if you're aware of this, but in November each year, no, not Novembers, I'm just making up words. But and in November, the MIC, which is the Military Influencers Conference,
Yes.
happens in Las Vegas every year there.
Yes, I was there last year. I actually volunteered so I could go in and I could learn about who were the people who waste time and who were the people who actually do stuff. So I volunteered behind the scenes, and I met a lot of amazing people, and I met a lot of people I didn't want anything to do with because all they did was quack out of their rear end. And if
Well,
you
the
ever
people that did the good stuff, some of those people that did the good stuff were actually on my podcast.
Yeah. So if you ever see me and I'm talking to somebody and my hand is behind me and it's behind my rear end and it looks like it's quacking, it's because they're quacking out my ass and I don't believe a word they're saying.
Penny, I would appreciate it, honestly, if you would stop holding back and tell us how you truly feel.
Yeah, it's my little tell. So people know if they see me doing it, they better come and grab me. Otherwise, I'm coming after them. Yeah, it's my pleasure to serve. And Tiffany, you are welcome to this group, and they have been very welcoming of me and everybody that has come on board. So.
Well, you see, I didn't waste any time jumping in, right?
We hadn't noticed, but we love it.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I
Tiffany.
literally just messaged her while we were recording.
And I want to make sure that we take this moment and acknowledge Tiffany. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being vulnerable with the group, right?
Yeah.
I know it got kind of overpassed and everything that you went through and that you shared, but it's extremely important because Christine and I were helping a active duty service member just 4 months ago. This service member came from Guam. He came to San Diego and he was homeless and he didn't have any money and his wife was still in Guam. And we reached out and we asked for help. Unfortunately, the reply that we got was, well, why is this service member with 26 years in the military not saving his money? Why is he going through financial troubles? Why? From a lot of people and from people that we didn't expect. We didn't reach out to just random people. We reached out to people that cared, right? And that was a huge kind of eye opener, and it brings awareness to what you were saying, Tiffany, right? We as service members, especially the senior time, not necessarily senior ranking, but just the more time we have in with the more of a hard time that we have asking for help, right? And the minute that we get shut down by people that we're supposed to trust and we're supposed to care about, it hurts us even deeper because we opened up to them. And I want to tell you, Tiffany, thank you. Thank you for opening up to this group. Thank you for bringing awareness to your problems. And thank you for having an amazing attitude and also for doing something about it. Not just as, Penny would say, quacking. But thank you. Thank you for sharing and thank you for doing something.
Yeah, and to be honest, that is part of why I started the podcast. Is I was going through counseling at the VA, and I was doing the cognitive processing therapy because the talk therapy just wasn't working. And so it's a 12 session thing that you go through. And towards the end of it, one of the last couple sessions, one of the things that the psychologist said to me was, you've got to get out there and find something that you're interested in. And me and my infinite sarcasm said, doc, there's nothing out there for me. What are you talking about? And of course I could dish it out and so could she. And I think that's what made our relationship work really well. And so I thought for a while, and I guess 2 or 3 years later, I start a podcast because my thought was, I love hearing people's story and going into a restaurant and sitting down at somebody else's table saying, tell me your story would not work out too well. So I decided to start a podcast. And I started, like I said, I started it 3 years ago, but I've since honed in on mental health and suicide because those are the things that so many people deal with, but don't want to talk about. So, for those who are willing to share their story of, I have this mental health issue and this is how I dealt with it, or I attempted suicide, or I contemplated suicide, and here's what I did that has kept me going ever since. Because those are the stories I believe we need to hear so that, others can have hope. So so all that to say, that's just that going through my own crap is what made me say I can't do much, but I can do a podcast to provide a platform for people to share their stories.
I love that. I love that.
Just like you called out
Tiffany,
somebody else, Tiffany. Just like you called out someone else and everyone else in this call. You say,
well, that might be my middle name then.
you can do it, and you are doing a lot. You are doing a lot. Just putting yourself out there, you are doing a lot.
Well, and her,
absolutely. I don't want to ask anybody to share their story on a podcast for the world to hear if I'm not willing to do it myself. And I've gotten I've gotten through the place in the counseling that I've been through to where I can get on a Zoom call for the first time with people that I have never met and say, hey, here's what I've experienced before. Because I don't have as much of an emotional attachment to it like I did 7 years ago. And if I share my story, who knows? There can be somebody here tonight that has experienced something similar who might say, hey, do you have a second? Can I talk? And then I say, of course.
Exactly.
Hey, Tiffany. So
yes,
I'm listening to your story, and it's the darkness, right? The darkness, we all have our own darkness, right? And I feel like you were in darkness and it helped you find the light, and then you became the light. So thank you.
Well, that's awesome.
Thank
I
you for being
appreciate
the
that.
light.
And I will say too, I still struggle with stuff. I mean, yes, what I went through 7 years ago with the rate and being homeless and having that grief of losing all of my property, yeah, that was a pretty dark time. But I will also say, even more recently, things have been rough and tough. But because I've made it through other things, I know I can make it through this too. And so that's, I have to remember that. I have to remember that beacon of light that got me through other things can get me through what I'm going through now. And that also means I have to depend on other people too. I'm not some hero that can say I got this, because you know what? I don't got this. And so I have to turn to people that I need. And 2.5 years ago, I actually self-admitted to the psych ward at my local VA because my life was upside down. And I knew I needed help and I didn't know where to turn. So for 3 weeks, I was in the psych ward because I knew I needed help and I wasn't going to leave until I got the help that I needed.
That's amazing that you were able to do something like that, advocate yourself and share that story, because people need to hear that. Not just the VA, there's amazing resources that we need to bring on and bring to light and talk about, because there's a lot of great ones out there and just some people don't know where to go.
Yeah, and that's, I'll tell you, with the first night or the second night, I don't remember which, that I was there, we were sitting around in the, I guess what most military people would be familiar with, calling it the day room, where there was a TV in the middle of all the rooms. And when I went and sat down, a couple of the guys were talking about when their court date was. And then they looked at me and one guy said, well, when's your court date? I said, I don't have one. He said, sure you do. We all have a court date. Maybe you just don't know it yet. I said, why would I have a court date? Well, for the reason that you're here. I said, no, I brought myself here. I said, nobody made me come here. I brought myself here. He burst out laughing and he said, who in their right mind would come to this place on purpose? And I shut him up really quick because I said 2 things. One, which of us here in the inpatient psych ward is in our right mind in the first place? We're all jacked up at some point in our mind. And 2, I brought myself to this, as you call it, hellhole, because I don't want somebody making me come here. I came here by choice because I recognized I needed help. What's your problem? Why did you have to have a police officer bring you by? And it got real quiet. And I wasn't trying to put him on the spot, but if you're going to try to put me on the spot saying, who in their right mind comes here? Well, me. Because I don't want to be in your shoes.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for sharing your story and sharing with us. Make sure you guys put your information in chat so everybody can connect with one another. So don't forget to do that now.
Except for me, because if you use my contact information, remember, I'm the one that calls you out.
So go ahead, Tiffany, put your contact information in chat. If we have any other resources on that want to share a little bit about the resource, please do that right now. And then we'll list off any events that we have. Make sure you put your information in chat, you guys, so that you can connect. Because that's all. Literally, we want to bring more veterans on. We want to bring more veterans and resources together. And Lelaine, you were very quiet. Very quiet.
Yeah, it's kind of freaking me out a little bit. Okay.
Right?
It's a very serious topic, though. I enjoyed everybody. And Tiffany, you were a highlight, a pleasant highlight. Everybody else, I'm kind of familiar with. And Craig, thank you for an incredible presentation. It's a hard topic to address, and you brought up a lot of good points about how to approach someone. So thank you for that, because when you're in the situation, you don't know what to do, and it does give you some clarity on maybe how to approach it. So thank you. But yeah, I love this group. Tiffany, welcome. They're amazing resources here. We want everybody to know about all these resources as much as we can, even across the country. Like you said, South Carolina, I'm sure you have a pot of people there that maybe we could connect with. So we just want to be a brighter and amplify the message of what veteran resources and military resources we could help with. So thank you for being here, and thank you, everybody.
I really don't have any resources as much to say, but we do have some events coming up throughout the summer and everything. We do event once a month. But anyways, if any of you guys are ever up here in the Northwest, it'd be great to meet up with you guys and maybe just get together and just talk and see what we can come up with. But a lot of times we'll go to like museums and stuff that will have a meeting. So that's what we do up here. So like I mentioned, if you guys are ever up here, that'd be great to have you come speak at one of our meetings or just get together with the guys. So thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. And we do this the third Wednesday of every month. So usually it's an hour. We did it longer because of the topic tonight, but definitely come back.
Oh, hold on. This is only an hour normally?
Normally, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for giving me that time, man. That's gosh, guys, I didn't mean to monopolize it.
Well, no, it's because we know that the Army guys, they like to talk.
Is it the
Army
Army
guys,
guys?
they're all
Is it really?
talkers.
Tiffany, just really help me out, man.
We're not stereotyping. It's a reality.
All right, I found my unmute button.
We just literally
What?
proved it. It's probably good she couldn't find her unmute button because she was probably on the other end. Talk.
For real though? Okay. There's more where that came from.
That's
All
not
love.
true. You want to know who talks a lot on this group? Let me tell you. Yogi. Do you want to know how I know this? Because I lost count how many times I was trying to call him that night that I was stuck on the side of the road trying to find a way back to my hotel. And I get a little Christine. Christine's like, yeah, I answered the phone. What's up? I said, well, Yogi said, what are we doing? Oh, we're going down here. You would not answer your phone, which tells me you were talking. There.
I was helping, just like you said, I put my phone down and I was helping somebody and devoting ears of communication to somebody that needed help. I listened, I learned from your education.
Greg
on
needed
Saturday.
help. I almost
So
told
on
Greg
Monday,
Daniel.
I did it.
I almost got stranded. I was going to be
Not
stranded.
stranded.
Well, we almost crashed.
Twice, right? From what I hear,
Twice.
story says.
It was in the parking lot. It was the parking lot.
Yeah, in Dave DeRocher's truck.
You know,
Dave
it may have been
was truck.
it may have been in a parking lot, but you do know that every time you tell a story, it gets a little bit worse each time, right?
So true.
No, here's the facts. Tiffany.
Okay,
It
guys.
was- we almost
This
ran
is
Say
into
true
the-
story.
the
You
golf
said true
tournament,
story.
Flip it
and then
around.
it was a red light situation.
This is the YouTube that we are
That's all
on.
my life. Just flash.
You can go subscribe, follow us. We do more than just this veteran series on the YouTube. We do have another podcast as well. So connect with us. We've got a Facebook group, so you can chat with us or ask questions during the month. And that's helping our veterans who have sacrificed for us. We have the Mill to Vet website, which is mill2vet.com or .org. And then connect with us next month. Bring on more resources. If like you guys are in different areas, introduce us to the resources that actually work. Don't give us the guys you got to call that give you another number, that give you another number, that give you another number. That's what we're running from. We're really trying to bring real resources that actually help to veterans and have these conversations. And so we appreciate everybody on tonight. Thank you so much for everything everybody's added, and connect with us throughout the month.
And
we'll-
Tiffany, next time be live. You're probably sitting with your jammies on, being in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Just saying. I mean, it is 10 till 11. So, yeah, about that.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's always worth it. I just absolutely love connecting with, military and first responders and others who support these communities. So, yeah. But yeah, and I say others who support the community so that way nobody can say, oh, I never wore a uniform. I'm just a supporter.
I think you hopped off.
Only-
Veteran ambassadors.
Right?
Yes.
Patriots. We are patriots.
Yeah.
America.
So on that note,
America.
if we're connected on LinkedIn or if we're not,
Stay right there.
tomorrow
don't
night,
come in.
I'm doing a launch party to start a book
What'd you
club
do?
called Let's Vet Together. And I have 13 different authors that we're going to talk about each of their books each month. 2 of them served in both first responder and the military. So,
Las Vegas, November, for the military influencers.
Somebody's not muted.
Oh, no, we want to hear it. You gotta share it with the group now.
Yeah, my beautiful wife is standing next to me and she's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I was like, "Great, almost done." I was like, "Hey, let's go to Vegas for this military influencers thing."
Yeah, see, that's what we got to do is share these events too, so we know where to be and where to go. And
It's pretty cool.
And that was my embarrassing moment.
So Tiffany, you were telling us about your book thing. So you have all
Yes,
of our
please.
contact information. Please send that out so we can join it. And I think I just connected with you on LinkedIn.
awesome.
As did I.
If not, I meant to.
Okay, well, I will go on to LinkedIn and say, "Hey, we're connected."
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
chat. Make sure to save
tomorrow
the
with
chat, you guys.
what's that?
Make
Huh?
sure to save the chat too.
Yes.
Save the chat.
See?
Mhm.
Okay, how do you save the chat?
Did you just ask that, Craig?
Yeah, I told you I was fluent in Teams.
Oh man, I'll give you everybody's number.
Thank you.
And I know Marco just came in. Marco, please introduce yourself. Tell everybody the elevator speech about who you are. Marco? Polo? Anybody? Marco? Marco? He'll come back. And then Tom, I know you were about to say something. Please share what you were about to say.
Tom was about to say, be a donor for Patriots and Paws and help us continue to do what we're doing. That's what Tom was about.
Exactly.
Go to
Christine is also on our board. So between Tom and Christine and me, you got 3 of us in one night.
Well, Lane, you're gonna have to come down and be a part of it too.
I know. I think we're gonna be living in Penny's warehouse as well. Thank you
Yes.
for the invitation.
Yes.
And I have your product for you, by the way.
Oh, okay, no problem. Thank you.
I finally got it back since you're on the phone, on the call.
¿Dónde está mi comida?
Marco, welcome back. Can you please introduce elevator speech of who you are and what you do? Oh, that's awkward.
Marco talked
He's
with us.
trying to find a
Wasn't
quiet
Marco
space.
wasn't Marco the one with the killer
4
dog?
minutes.
Does he know he's on the call?
So
Well,
yeah.
thank you everyone
thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming tonight. Thank you for sharing all your beautiful stories. Thank you for opening up your hearts, your minds, and thank you for welcoming us. And please, if you have anyone that could benefit from something like this, please connect them with us. Please invite them to the next month's meeting. And if we have Craig, great resource. We got other people that were here. We have the whole chat. If anyone is in need, please reach out to any one of us. Have them connect to the suicide line 9888 or the military suicide awareness line, right? Or 911, right? Do not suffer alone. Do not deal with this and do not carry these burdens, right? Love y'all and thank you. Thank you again. Christine, over to you.
And if you need resources in any other state, we do have resources in other states too. So again, connect with us. Have a good night, you guys. Thank you so much, Craig.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you. This is awesome.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Craig.
Night.